Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Hobby Hotline podcast, live this morning on YouTube. Our hosts this week are Drew Herndon from Let Me Get That Potograph, Doug Caskey from Mojo Breaks The Hype, and I'm Mike Sommer from the Wax Pack Hero Sports Card Minute. We are the Hobby's only live call-in show. We're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and 10 a.m. Central on YouTube and Periscope. And you can follow us on Twitter at the Hobby Hotline. Or at Hobby Hotline. We're available on podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Overcast, and TuneIn. How are you guys doing today?
What's going on, man? Just got done, doing coaching the little man's soccer game. So starting the morning off right. But it's a nice day here and got a lot going on right now. So pretty exciting time. Doing good myself. What about you, Doug? First of all, let's welcome finally after, is it 3 episodes or 4 now? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Episode 3. Finally, after 3 episodes, we get another member of our awesome panel on the show, Mr. Doug Caskey. So first off, let's welcome Doug to Hobby Hotline. It's glad to finally get you on, man.
Definitely. I'm excited to be on, and it's on the one day of the year that only happens every 4 years, which is February 29th. So we got to make it special, right? A little leap year day. So, been looking forward to catch the show and get on, and excited to talk about all the hot topics.
You know, the funny thing is I did not even realize it was the leap year today. That's how crazy busy my life has been right now. So that's
I hear you.
Where I'm at. Yeah. But welcome everybody. And like I said, this is, like Mike said, this is the Hobby's only call-in show. So as always, we want you guys to be a part of the action here. If there's anything, we'll have some topics that we're going to talk about and everything. But if there's any questions that you have that you would like to ask, or any topic that you heard on any of our shows, whatever it may be, if you'd like to call in either through video or just phone, I'm posting a link in the chat right now. It is incredibly simple. You simply click the link from your iPhone, Android, whatever it may be, or computer. If you want to green screen it up and be all fancy, it's up to you. But simply click that link, allow a few permissions, and you'll hop on the show. So we definitely want you guys to call in and, interact in the show, because the show really is all about you guys. And if we get some interaction today, I'll put it to you this way. If we can get some interaction today, towards the end of the show, we'll be giving away something for you guys today. So let's get some calls in. I'm going to be posting the link in the comments right now.
Awesome.
Well, one of the first things I thought would be good to talk about is this week, 2020 Heritage released. And,
yes.
It's using the 1971 design this year. It's one of those products that I enjoy a lot, but is sometimes misunderstood, I think, a little bit in the hobby by those coming in. It's not really a hit-driven product so much in the traditional sense. You only get 2 or 3 autos per case. The rest are relics. There's only 1 hit per hobby box. But it's one of those products that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I normally do too. 99 times out of 100, I would absolutely agree with you. So far this year, now maybe it's just me, but for some reason this year, I love the design. The 71 design is awesome. Grading is going to be a bitch, but I something about it's missing this year to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's fun for just that set building feel, but I bought a bunch of blasters and everything for a review, and yet we got 1 hot box, which was fun, but literally everything else that I was showing was 2 different types of inserts and 3 high-numbered short prints.
It's because you missed the scratch-offs from last year, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. I just want, and the real ones and stuff, the on-card autos and stuff, that stuff's awesome, but it feels like one of those products that, trust me, I don't want more autos and more patches. That's not what I'm talking about. But I just want something besides the high-numbered short prints to kind of chase after, because in the end, it looks like all I'm going through looking at describing something live to people, at least when it comes to that show, is the exact same looking card.
Yeah, and I hear you. And one thing to point out, if you're going into a shop, because we broke 6 cases of Heritage already, and the SP happens to be almost in the same exact pack every case we did. So be aware if you're going into a shop to go ahead and ask them, hey, did you shuffle these up and how many packs were bought? Because literally it was the 30th card down in every stack. And I'm kind of agreeing with you on the predictability. So every box had one SP, whether it be an action, whether it be a silver, whether it be a no autograph, and then it had one relic and one auto. So it's very, very predictable. But 71 design's very cool. But just definitely one thing to watch out for when you go into a shop is, if they've shuffled their packs.
Well, guys, real quick, I do want to continue this Heritage discussion, but we do have a caller on the line. Thank you so much for calling in, and it looks to be Josh. We're going to pull Josh in on the line. So, Josh, welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Can you hear us there, bud?
It's like you're on mute or something.
I don't think you have any audio, Josh.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any audio here on your end.
I think he's just so excited about Heritage.
I think so. Not getting any audio in on you right now. Possibly maybe on mute.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
If you need to call back, that's fine. You can.
Phone works too.
Yeah, phone works just as well.
Is anybody good at lip reading? Can we do the
yes. Josh, if you can, call back in using your phone, whatever it may be. Just try exiting out and calling right back in, and we'll get that going. But yeah, that's kind of where I was going with Heritage. It's just and see, I hadn't even got a chance to bust the hobby yet. And it's a product that I love for one reason. I do a little work with Vintage Breaks now on the side at Vintage Breaks South, and I'm starting to learn about this vintage stuff. That's something that I was never really big into, and something that I don't, if you tell me, I know people, a lot of you guys probably too, can look and be like, yeah, that's 56 tops trait, whatever it may be. Right. That's not my skill set. It never has been. I can do that with modern all day. And so Heritage has been a big thing where I've been able to learn about the actual history of the card. So it's doing its job even for someone that I consider myself pretty adept in this hobby. And so I love what Heritage represents. I love the real ones. I think they're fun. I like the old school printed cardstock. It's just, I don't know, there's something missing to me, at least with this year's release, that just doesn't really grab me and make me want to keep buying it.
Doug, is Heritage a product that you do a lot of breaking on, with it not being hit driven and being those SPs and action variations and all of that kind of stuff being where the value is? That stuff's a lot harder to identify, and it's not as easy for somebody watching online or on the live break to really pick up on, is it?
Absolutely. I mean, we've kind of grew with it. We used to do 1 or 2 cases a year, and I think now we're up to 10 or 15. We as a company try to offer everything. So we do every type of product, whether it be hit driven, whether it be base set driven. And one of the ways that Mojo Break started was based on set building. We started with Series 1 in 2010. So, it kind of is our like bread and butter as far as our backbone to this hobby. That's how we jumped in, is we were all about people building the teams. Nice. But yeah, as far as people that are watching like Flawless and National Treasure, seeing Logo Mans, it's definitely going to be more of a slower rip. But you really kind of can conversate with your customer at that point. It takes us we're dual camming it now. So it takes us about an hour and 15 minutes each case to go through. Yeah. And we know exactly where the SPs are now, and we kind of know where everything is kind of laid out. So we're not missing anything. We're showing every single card. And for breakers, one thing I would warn is if you're buying into a Heritage break, and I know there's a lot of new breakers coming into this hobby, I would not buy into a break that doesn't ship base and Heritage. 100%, because they're going to be missing. They're going to be possibly missing SPs. They're going to be possibly missing variations. And the fallback on all that is if you're shipping all base, they're getting all their cards. It doesn't matter. But
Exactly. Well, guys, Josh, we've got, looks like, back on the line. We're going to go round 2. Let's see how this works this time. So, Josh, let's pull you in.
All right. Can you hear me?
There we are. Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining the show, man.
Go back to the iPhone. Never fails.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's going on, man? Thanks for calling in.
Not too much. I'm glad I could join you guys today. I've listened a little bit to the last few episodes, and I definitely enjoy all of your guys' podcast.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So my, a conversation I've been having with a few of my friends lately is it's kind of on the grading area, but it's also on my favorite's basketball. And I like to collect some of the, I would say old school, but it's old school for me. Probably 1995 through early 2000s. But a lot of it's the early chrome and even finest stuff. And I noticed there's a lot of greening in those cards, especially when they were exposed to light.
Yes.
And I find it very interesting when you start seeing a lot of these that are graded like by PSA or even by BGS that have greened after the fact. And people are trying to sell, PSA 9s or 10s that look awful. So.
Well, you're hitting my wheelhouse right now. I know if you listen to my show, I'm a chrome addict. That's my super collection. That's everything. That's what I collect 99% of. And that's one of those things where, the slab itself, it's not to that point. Once again, we're wasting money putting little chips in that verify that they're real as opposed to actually improving things that need to be improved, such as maybe protecting things a little bit better, your cards a little better. But that greening process that you're talking about from those old chromium cards is the actual printing process. I worked at a printing company for a while, so I know quite a bit about this. It's back then the final coating that they used was not the standard that we have today. Meaning that like these chrome cards that we're going to get now, Prizm 10 years from now is not going to get that greening effect. They've perfected the actual, the process to do it, but the stock that they were using back then and the method of printing that they were using back then has caused a lot of those cards to get that greening effect, get these things that after they're graded, the card kind of alters because the coating wasn't meant to stand the test of time because, let's be honest, back when these cards were created, I don't think anyone that was sitting there making those cards, designing those cards at all, said one day we're going to be slabbing all of these in these slabs and people are going to be, I think they're going to be tossed around. These are going to be some of the nicer ones, but hey, who cares what happens?
All right. So is it the actual exposure to UV light that's causing it, or just it's going to happen if it's going to happen, and if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen?
I think it's UV lighting. I know as a card shop, we actually had it happen more with autographs. Like I'm a big Buster Posey collector, and I have a lot of Buster Poseys, and I had them in my glass, and I noticed the autograph was fading. So this was 2008 Bowman Chrome. So what I did is I started putting them in my safe and stuff like that. And I've even heard card shops actually take photos of their high-end chrome cards, make a nice photo, put that out for display, and put their stuff in a vault so that it's not exposed to light. But Drew may know a little bit more on it as well.
Yeah. And I guess, just where I'm not a high-end dabbler, but I do like to look out of curiosity. And if you see one with a little bit of greening, are you assuming that it's going to completely green, like to continue, or I wonder if it's a case you can pause it, or if it's one of those things like once you start seeing greening inside a pre-slab, because I'm assuming if it says PSA 10 and you're seeing greening that it happened after the fact, I'm assuming that PSA or BGS wouldn't still grade that as a 10.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm not too familiar with PSA's grading in terms of that regard of how that's actually a very good question. I'm actually going to ask them next time I speak to them how they would grade that the way it comes now. Like if they take that into effect, like they do, I'm assuming they do, considering you got the old Gretzky cuts for rookies that have, that cut that they consider, to us, it looks awful like a miscut, but that's how they were cut. So that's how they grade it. I don't know if that's necessarily how they would do it or not, but it definitely is. Doug nailed it. The UV light has a lot to do with it, but it also has a lot to do with just that stuff was not, it was not meant for the long haul yet. They were pushing the boundaries of the technology that they had at the time. And unfortunately, you're seeing the results of it 25, 30 years later.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. It doesn't bother me in the raw form. It just kind of bothers me sometimes when I see it graded. And if people are
of course. Oh no, 100%. I could not agree with you more.
I have one second question, and I'll ask it, and just because out of curiosity, as a hobby enthusiast, and I'll just enjoy to listen to your guys' opinion on it. But it's on displaying and how you like to display your cards. Obviously, I have a lot of cards and top loaders, and back when I was a kid, everything was in screw downs, which now I'm not using that anymore, versus binders or even display cases that you hang on your wall. And I'm just kind of curious to see how everybody enjoys displaying their cards at home, or, just so they can enjoy looking at them without having to pull them out of the monster boxes. So.
Yeah, I actually have a few on my desk, but that's an age-old question that I've been trying to find out too, because I was looking at maybe something that I could hang on the wall or something that displays them right. And I think there's some options out there, but I didn't find any that I particularly like. But right now, I usually just put 3 or 4 on some stands in my office and at home and display them there.
Yep.
Yeah,
what about you, Mike?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of things. I've got a handful on my desk that are in either one touches or top loaders with a stand around my computer. Occasionally, like right up here, I'll put together kind of a photo collage type thing with magazine covers and some, different cards on topic. That one's all celebrating the Cubs World Series win. And then for like sets and things that I like to flip through and look at, I still use binders and pages for 1 or 2 sets a year that I like to be able to reference back to, as well as some of my like EC players, single players, or whatever type of thing. So
yes,
I use a variety.
Yeah.
The binders you like to use?
What's that?
A particular brand of binders. I've gone through a few binders that I've bought and returned just because either the quality isn't great and the pages are all half ripped up.
Yeah, no, I use typically Ultra Pro pages, but then the binders, I just like any of the ones that are more, have the padding or the soft case. I've got a couple friends who found some, and I don't know the brand names, that stack real well on bookshelves and keep the pages from sagging down and some of that kind of stuff. That they swear by those. They're, I don't know, maybe an inch and a half width, but I don't know the brand on those.
Yeah, I do kind of like you. When it comes to storage, I do a lot of still binders and stuff, depending on especially a lot of my older era stuff. But for me, displaying, at least, I've got 2 main collections: my East Carolina collection, and then my Panthers stuff, basically. The ECU stuff, I buy those. I think you get them at like Marshall's or whatever, the 20 card holder things for rainbows. At least I used to when I'd finish them, because I like to build rainbows. But now I need like 8 of them to actually finish a rainbow. So as opposed to 1 that holds 20 cards. So I use those for a lot of like my Bryce Williams collection. I'll put those together. Like in the background right here, I'll display like kind of the memorabilia and the shoes and some of the cards. But I'm kind of like Doug. I just put a couple of cards up on display. I like to change it up a lot. It's never really the same. My son's getting into it a lot now, a whole lot, especially now that he sees me doing all these different shows all the time in the house. So we change it up based on his appearance a lot. But it's just something that's ever evolving. If my house didn't entirely revolve around everything of his, I'd probably have a much nicer display. But you
may run into the same issue I'm having. Is I have a 3-year-old. My biggest concern is in the next few years I'm going to find him in my room throwing around high-dollar cards.
You will. Just to before we let you go, man, you will, unless you teach him young. Trust me. But thanks for calling in the show, man, and thanks so much for listening to the podcast. And feel free to call in anytime, Josh.
All right, enjoy it.
Awesome caller right there.
Yeah, exactly. And see, guys, that's what we want. Like, look, we're talking about heritage, but look, if there's something you want to talk about, if there's something that's been on your mind, let's face it, this hobby nowadays, I mean, hell, Doug, Mike, you guys can all relate to this. 3-4 years ago, when all of us were doing content in this to a smaller scale, but doing content nevertheless, it wasn't a 24/7 news cycle type of deal in the hobby. There weren't things happening every single day that were newsworthy. There weren't a million really things to discuss every single week.
Right.
But, that's where we're at nowadays. And so while we may be discussing something, guys, if there's something that's been on your mind, if there's something you've seen and you want to talk about it, call in. Let us know. Just like Josh did. We'd love, that's what we want this show to be about.
Absolutely.
All right. So with heritage, is there anything else, guys, that you guys have regarding heritage this week?
One thing I wanted to add too, for people that haven't busted it as well, is One thing I do like about it is, so the standard rookie cards are going to have dual. So it's going to be tribute to the 71 design. It's going to have 2 guys on it. So for example, there's a Jordan and a Steven Aquino on the base card. Now the variation is actually a rookie of Jordan. So the rookie cards actually are very sparse. So you're only going to get like 3 to 4 true rookies in a case. So I like that in terms of chase and value, not making them just available in every box where you're going to get, 12 Jordans. Like there was many cases we didn't get 1 Jordan true rookie. So I'm just talking about the base card. So I think over time, that's a good idea where it's kind of, making those more valuable. So I think it will be one of the top, in my opinion, rookie cards up there with some of the Chrome stuff because of the way they short printed it this year.
Nice. Well, guys, all right. Well, there's something that's on this week's rundown. I know we're going a little out of order here, but I talked about it a lot this week on social media, and it's something I'd really like to get to real quick. And I have a feeling it's going to spark a lot of conversation between anyone that's watching the show. But I did some research while we were on VB South earlier this week regarding Optic and Prizm, and it in a specific relation to print runs, which I'll get to a little bit later. Obviously, Optic has just released. It's the hot product right now. I mean, everyone sees it. You see the retail shelves being emptied out. Everything, our normal shopping carts are full, but we never get to see what's inside type of deal. It's that time of year again. But when you're looking at something like Optic, even looking at the secondary market right now, go look at the prices. A fast break box right now of this year is going for more than Luka boxes last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, these of Optic. But when you're looking at Optic, and I mean, we'll even throw Select in there coming out soon as well, another chromium-based product. One of these chromium-based products has to ultimately be king. I mean, let's face it, Topps Chrome, it's established itself as the chromium product when it comes to Topps. Panini is kind of getting in there with getting their feet wet with Prizm and then getting Optic and now having Select in there as well. But will Optic or Select ever, in your guys' mind, pass Prizm in both like price in the secondary market and overall demand? I'm curious to see y'all's opinions because I have some stats I want to throw out there in just a little bit for you guys.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, will it ever surpass? I don't know. I think for me, the impression that I get is this current run-up that we've seen in interest in Optic is because of the astronomical prices that Prizm has escalated to, and people are looking for a more affordable alternative that's, some would argue almost as equally eye-appealing, right? And so I think that's been one of the big drivers of it. And so will it ever surpass? I don't know. I guess it could. It might just ultimately depend on where those preferences lie and what some of those other, peripheral aspects are of the products. But I don't know that the current increase in interest in those other products is solely because of their own merits.
Yeah, and I agree. I think there's become so much hype on all the products that I think you're seeing a kind of a big boom in a sense, with no pun intended, with these other products that are coming out because, like Mike said, they're becoming more available compared to the prices of Prizm. I think, honestly, when the smoke clears, like we're talking next year when we're on to a rookie class, I think it's going to be the Prizm cards. Now, I'm not saying the Optic or the Select is not going to be worth anything. I'm saying they're just not going to be worth as much as the true silvers, the black golds, the golds, and stuff like that are coming out.
Okay, I agree with that completely. I was kind of looking more along the lines of maybe 5-10 years down the line, as Optic in basketball is in its third year. It's in its infancy compared to Prizm. Prizm's been established, but I look at that and I agree with everything you guys are saying right there. But when I was doing this research, and this is what brought this up and made me question this. Let's take Luka, for example. I wanted to take a look at Luka Silvers. So I hopped on over to PSA's beautiful pop report. Searched in Luka Silvers. Just how many had been submitted, not tens or anything. Over 2,500 were submitted so far. Then I looked over and I jumped over at his Optic Hollows and looked to see how many had been submitted. 250 plus, not even 300 total. And so I'm looking at this as,
Mhm.
I do think Optic has seen a surgence because honestly, Prizm has outpriced a lot of collectors. Let's be honest. The demand of it is just outpriced people to be able to afford. They don't want to pay that $60 a pack, the triple the price on the blasters. So it's outpricing a lot of people that would normally, when this product was created, I was such a fan. And I had so much of the original years of Prizm. It was invented to be a low to mid-end product for collectors. That's what it was built for. But I look at these and I see rated rookie autos, which are all on card and absolutely beautiful. The classic rated rookie logo, which is finally making a comeback a little bit in terms of, meaning something, so to speak. And then I look at the print run, and to me, it just seems that given enough time, if Panini continues to put the more effort into Optic, I could see it a decade down the line possibly being more desirable than Prizm, simply due to those print runs and the on-card autos. Like, I don't know. I see this as something where Optic could be in the infancy of really starting to do something special.
Yeah, I think that potential's there for sure.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we see a lot of people here. Doug, we actually had a question here. We'll hop in now. Brian Phelps had a question for you real quick.
Sure.
Said he was listening to a podcast yesterday, and the person said that there's no money in breaking because of overhead, credit card fees, paying employees. And I know the answer to this, and I can't wait to hear the answer to this, but I would like you to explain. I would like you to expand on that answer, please.
Sure. Let me share my bank account, guys.
Exactly.
It depends on what product you're doing. Obviously, we're in a hot period right now. But the actual on-camera breaking aspect of it is about 5 to 10% of it all. I mean, I have 5 shippers. I have 3 breakers. I have. I'm actually going to be paying. I'm moving into a 4,000 square foot building. I'm going to be paying $7,000 a month rent. So, there's a lot of overhead costs. There's Facebook advertising, Google advertising. So in a sense, yes, that's correct. It just really depends on what kind of allocation you're getting from the manufacturers and the distributors. If you're getting enough allocation, the market's gone up, you're making decent money. But the problem is, like with NT coming out, we have Blowout that's already, at 13,500 a case of NT before we've even gotten our allocation. So, who's going to give me that many cases of NT at the original pre-sale price? It's probably not going to happen. So that's the constant battle, is trying to get product at a reasonable price and, not really try to overcharge your customers. And sometimes, so a lot of times we're passing on these products because, at like 5,500 wholesale case, and we have to try to make a little bit of money on it too. And it's just not working out.
Yeah. It would seem like many things. It's going to take a lot of work, and you have to have a good business plan if you're going to make something like that work, whether you're talking about breaking or whether you're talking about buying and flipping collections, whether you're talking about buying and flipping singles, sure. Whatever it is, right? It's not the license to print money that some people think it is. You have to have a sound strategy and plan to make any of these types of things work. And was there money? No. Is it easy money? No.
And one thing to keep in mind is that we started with $400 in 2010. So it was grinding. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of grind. And, fortunate for us now that we have some just amazing customers that have stuck with us, and it's growing to the point where, we don't have any trouble really filling it up any breaks. So, without them, but without the grind, we wouldn't be there. And without them, coming and showing us love every day, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like you said, breaking. I mean, I know Mojo, you guys have supported Let Me Get That Potograph for a long time now. And I've seen you guys for a couple of years now growing. And you can be very successful. This can be a very successful business. And you see a ton of them fail. And I'll tell you, I've seen a ton of them fail. A lot of them have been on my show. They've been sponsors of the show before. And then 6 months later, they don't exist. And the difference between it is is pretty much what you're talking about right there. The dedication that you have, the work ethic that you have, and the systems that you put in place. If you put in a system, follow that system, and work hard at it, and let's face it, have the personality, you have to be able to do this type of stuff. I mean, you can't just, it's not as simple as just opening a pack of cards, which a lot of people think. There's a lot that goes into it, whether it be marketing, tons of stuff. And the difference between the breakers that stick around and that don't is that work ethic that you guys have.
You know, one interesting thing to add is there's a lot because. So let's just put it in perspective. We're not getting, us breakers are not getting a lot of allocation, but say some breakers got Optic at let's just say 1,080 wholesale cost, right? We know on blowout right now it's at 5,400. So you can do the math there, right? So what a lot of breakers have done, which I think honestly shoots them in the foot, is they just go and sell to Tom Fish or or another bigger breaker, and they don't actually break it for their customers. So they're basically taking the short-term money as opposed to, putting it out there, breaking it, sorting it, getting your cards out to your customers. They're taking the easy money, which honestly with breaking, we're not taking that amount in. There's no way we can sell teams. We can't sell the Thunder for, the amount of money they're going to be really worth on a 5,400 case. So I think a lot of breakers have hurt themselves in that sense by not looking at it in a bigger picture, that you got to get these cards to your audience in the hands of the consumer rather than just getting it in from a distributor, slapping a label on it and getting it back out the door and making $4,000. That doesn't really work long-term.
Yeah, no, I could not agree with you more. And so, I think it has a lot to do with, how you end up running that business. But whoever that podcast was, I actually am very curious. I'd love to hear this rant on breaking, because they could not be more wrong, at least in my opinion. So let's see. Hold on. I had one. What was that? What's up, Mike?
Did we have a caller?
No.
I was going to say, while we've got Doug here, you were at the 2020 Tops Industry Conference last weekend?
Yeah,
or was it
the beginning of this week, actually.
Yep. Can you give us a recap of what you learned at the conference? Kind of what was going on at the conference?
Tops in terms of all the events, I would say they're one of the classiest events. If that's for lack of a better word, they have a lot of organization. They have a lot of things going on. They bring in some like motivational speakers to kind of help you with marketing and stuff like that. To be quite honest, I a lot of times I'm outside, doing business deals or something. So I don't make every event, but they're previewing products. They are talking about different things that are going on for the shop. So they try to cater to everybody's business. This year, they actually had a breakers panel. They had a breakers discussion with all of us breakers in there, and they let us pretty much talk on how to improve the products, or at least give them ideas, which was, the first time a company's really done that. Usually we've had breaker meetings, and it's usually a distributor or a manufacturer just talking the whole time and not really hearing us out. So that was fantastic. I mean, they did the announcement on Transcendent, who's going to be basically the cornerstone of Transcendence. I don't know where you guys want to hit on any of those topics individually, or
did they in 2019, they showed a visual of like the full year's planned release calendar. Did they do that again this year? At that level of detail?
Not as in detail. They went through some of the newer things, but they didn't give exactly full details on dates and stuff like that.
Did they give, another thing I remember from the 2019 year was they gave some numbers on the amount of sales growth and things like that they'd seen both in the baseball product line as well as their entertainment lines. Did they give much of a feel for how Tops as a company is doing?
I believe they said they've increased growth 10 to 15% over the prior year.
Okay.
So, and they kind of anticipate that same level of growth this year.
Okay. Yeah, those are topics that are interesting to me from that overall business perspective. We know that prices are high, but how is that translating to the manufacturer themselves?
Right. Well, one of the things that I've always sorry to cut you off, but one of the things that I always say too is if it's an autograph driven product, they can really only make as much product as the autograph content warrants. You know what I mean? So which is kind of protects us. So when we start getting away from autograph content, that's when you have to worry about, possible overproduction. One of the things that I thought was funny was, the optics of the million card, rip party, right? Because you hear the word million and you think, oh, overproduction, right? It's a natural reaction for most people that aren't in this side of the industry. But they actually only made 10% more of 2020 tops compared to 2019 tops. And when they compared it to 1991 tops, they said they're not even scratching the surface of like 10% of what they made in like 1991.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I actually wanted to touch on something that you had mentioned, that they actually took your guys' feedback at this summit. I just want to take a second. If anyone from Tops, I do have a couple of friends at work there, decides to watch the show. Kudos to you guys for finally doing that. Yeah. I've been pushing that for a long time, and that's something that needs to start happening a lot more in this industry, is the transparency and the working with people that are in this industry. People like you guys that are handling a lot of the product. You are the people that need to be discussing that stuff with them. Just like when I'm talking right now to a grading company about reinventing their process that they go through. Same with a card company about kind of altering their QC method. Some things. These are things that companies need to be starting to do a lot more of. And so to hear that Tops did that at the conference is an awesome thing to see.
Absolutely. Yeah. They've always been, and I've even had years where Clay has pulled me to the side and said, hey, how about this? How about that? I think one of the things was, can we make, sorry if I'm busting out Clay, but it was like 3 years ago. He said, should we make Ginter a breaker friendly? And I said, absolutely not. I said, no, keep it the way that it is. So.
No, and please keep putting my friends like Brian Fallon in the product. Which, if anyone out there, and if anyone out there has a Brian Fallon autograph from last year's Allen and Ginter, he's one of the musicians. He's the lead singer of the Gaslight Anthem. Please hit me up.
Nice.
But anyway, while we're on that, so Transcendent, you mentioned that they hit the big Transcendent announcement, and I don't want to get this wrong, but I believe it is their big guy this year is Mr. Harper himself.
Well, they said the cornerstone of Transcendent is Bryce Harper. So that was loosely worded in a sense that maybe if they can't get him to show up to the party, there's going to be somebody else. But the set, what I'm thinking, the one-of-one set, if you're familiar with the Transcendent, $25,000 price tag, the one-of-one in every box is typically the cornerstone player. So last year you had Derek Jeter. The year before you had Aaron Judge. And then the first year you had Chris Bryant. So this year it's more than likely going to be Bryce Harper. That's going to be the one-of-one in every box. And then probably the party, as long as they can get him there.
Which year was it that Hank Aaron was the in-person guest, but who was the...
Aaron Judge was inside the box.
Judge was inside the box, but he wasn't at the event, right? It was
but what they do at the events is, so typically all the one-of-ones that come out of the Transcendent, they give every person. I've been to every Transcendent event. So typically the set mimics the player that has the autographs. So you'll get you still got a Judge set at the Transcendent party, even though he wasn't there.
Got it.
That's cool. Nice. So was that your first time attending that? Well, that wasn't your first time attending the event, right?
I've been to every one. I think they started about 3 years ago.
So in comparison, how do you think this one was in terms of, both the information provided, but also the, everything all around, from the way they were more receptive this year to listening, are they opening up a little bit? Because Tops is one of those companies that, look, we all run a podcast, so we deal with these companies. Tops is a very reserved company a lot of times.
Absolutely.
And it's taken a very long time to get them to open up compared to every single other company that there is. So compared to the last 3 years, are you seeing possibly, it sounds, at least from what I'm hearing, is that Tops is kind of maybe peeling back that curtain finally now, and at least receptive to dealing with collectors and the people that are in the industry a little more as in the past.
Yeah, all the events they've had. The original event started. It was called the Industry Summit, which now is just Panini, Leaf, and Beckett. But back then, it was everybody was there, and it was in Vegas and stuff like that. And so everybody had their own presentation. But since they broke off 3 years ago, and Upper Deck has their own one now too. Topps has been pretty receptive. They've held Q&As to the whole room. They've asked things, and there's been some ridiculous questions out there, from card shops and things like that. And they do their best to answer them. And I think what you're referring to, I think all companies are hard to get a hold of if you're in social media or if you have a redemption. I think it's really hard to get a hold of any of those, and maybe that should change. But at these events, they're pretty receptive, and they take the opinions and they say one way or the other if it's they're going to be able to do it or if not.
Yep. Well, no, I completely agree. Well, we do have another caller on the line, and this caller looks awfully familiar. He is another host of this show calling in. You guys know him from NASCAR Radio. Probably, I don't think there's anyone that knows more in this hobby about NASCAR cards than the man I'm calling in right now, Mr. VaL Marz. How's it going, my friend?
Good, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Doing good. What's
going on? Are you going to search some packs?
Oh boy.
Are you buying Optic for me so I can come drive as soon as the show's over? Because I'll end the show now to drive and pick it up.
Live on location.
I got Optic baseball, maybe.
No, come on now. We're talking about real cards here. So what's up, Val? Val? How's it going, man?
No, it's going good. I was just gonna call in and been somewhat frustrated about retail distribution. And, I guess the Target, Walmart are using that one company, and are they actually hurting?
What do you mean? Like, are you talking about like distribution as in like cards or like people are buying up the whole like displays? Or are you talking about the stuff where there are distributors, and I know this happens because I know some shady people that do it that have paid off distributors to get the cards from them ahead of time. I don't know if you're aware, but at least at Target now, a distributor has to put the boxes up, take a picture, and show to their company that they put the boxes on the shelves. What they're doing after that is taking the box right off after they've taken the picture and going and selling it backdoor anyway. But is that what you're referring to or what? Because there's a lot of issues in retail right now that people have a problem with.
I think just the getting supply. I'm not even, talking about the stuff that's not even getting to the shelf, but Panini doing the rep redemption. If I go to Target, I don't even this year's Donruss. I don't have last year's Donruss. I have Victory Lane and 2 years ago Prizm. But at least I was coming to this Target to check it out, and they do new Donruss. So I'll be buying last year. But
sure.
I guess it seems like the way the Panini products are, the way the companies are handling the distribution through retail through that one company.
Val. Right. Well, Val, sorry, Val. It looks like I think we just lost you here, but thanks so much for the call and everything. But what I think he's referring to is the lack of being able to get, if I could hear him correctly, is just that it's hard to, that allocation is so thin now that a lot of places aren't being able to get so much that they used to be anymore. And I mean, that just comes down to, at least in my eyes, where we are in the hobby. I mean, it's exploded so much. Let's face it, the distribution system was created for a hobby that from 5 to 10 years ago. It's a different hobby. And so I think I don't think they've adapted well to that. And I think distribution is one of the biggest problems in the hobby, top to bottom, from retail to hobby, everything. I'm sure, Doug, you've had nightmares with this as well, being in breaking. And we could do probably a 10-episode series on the issues with distribution. But when it comes to retail, I think it's just, the days of being able to just go find it on the shelves at any time, those days are long gone. It's to the point now where if you want it, you're going to a hobby shop and hoping to get it. Or you're going and you're able to order it on eBay. I mean, those are really your options these days until distribution's changed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that, and especially frustrating with the retail aspect is how many people are just, so people that I think it's Excel marketing. I'm not sure that. So one thing to consider with the Target is that Target has nothing to do with it. Same thing with Walmart. It's an outside company that's put in charge to knock it off.
MJ Holdings.
And I think that at one point they were Beckett, but not Beckett
right.
that we know and love. But so those people are letting their friends know. I'm sure they're getting paid off, all because this stuff's hot. So it's almost like it needs to be changed. But Target and Walmart are not going to care. They're such a small fraction of what they do. I mean, they're more concerned with, I'm sure, the TVs, the video games, probably the groceries now more than anything.
All right. Well, we have another caller. Guys, I love it. Now that you guys are calling in so much, we are definitely going to be doing a giveaway here at the end of the show. So stay tuned. Get on. Don't leave. We are doing a giveaway now, but we're going to be pulling in now. It looks like Mr. Kevin Jones joining the show. Kevin, thanks so much for calling in, my man.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey. Yeah, I was just was thinking about calling in, and it's just amazing how fast things are moving in the hobby right now. I feel like I'm a returning collector. I came back in, I think, around last March or April. Of course, I'm an 80s kid, so I collected a lot through the junk wax era.
Just like me.
A little bit in the late 90s. During the Sosa and McGuire craze, which was a lot of fun. And I was amazed at how much the hobby had changed then. Dabbled a little bit in the mid-2000s, was working on vintage Packers team sets. But it was really funny because I was thinking about just picking up like a Mike Trout base rookie. And to kind of show how out of touch I was with the hobby, I was thinking a common Mike Trout rookie was going to be about $15. Just based on when I left the hobby, I was pretty shocked. But it's really amazing, and it just seems to be going faster and faster with just all the products coming out, all the content. I think with social media, I think a lot of the social media is driving a lot of this too, which is a variable that wasn't there, say, in the junk wax era. And I think that the level of FOMO out there right now is it's off the charts. It's getting harder and harder for me to find stuff. Cause I'm kind of picky. I do like oddball stuff too, but it's getting really hard out there. And I cannot rationalize paying the prices for some of this stuff. It's insane.
Yeah, personally, I've moved this last year, so I've moved away from getting as much of the brand new product and worrying about stuff when it just hits the shelves. And I focused more on buying collections, and essentially when I'm buying those collections, it's pennies on the dollar because people are trying to sell off all their old stuff so that they can go chase all of the new stuff. And I have just as much fun at this point going through a few monster boxes from a collection than I do opening a brand new pack. It's still kind of that same sensation of not knowing what's inside. You've looked a little bit to get a general feel for what you can pay for a collection, but there's as much fun for me almost as of going through some of these old collections and seeing the variety of different things. That's what I've moved into.
No, I definitely agree with you, and I totally understand your frustration. I get frustrated with it too, and I totally get it. I think the fear of missing out part is definitely one of the big reasons that this is going on. But I also think it's just one of those things where you're also getting like say the other day, I knew when MJ Holding stocks our Walmart because I've been collecting cards there for 4 years. I went in there to check it out. There was 4 people that were there that were 65 or older that had their kids sending their grandfather to go look to find this stuff.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's coming to the point where people are finding a loophole in this where you can find it and do that Gary V flipper mentality, kind of aspect that's been brought into the hobby. And it harkens back to distribution. The way they've set this distribution up for retail in the hobby, it makes it a prime opportunity for people to do this. And let's face it, when you can put it on your credit card and sell it and pay it off before the balance is even due. I mean, there's little to zero risk to these people. So, I don't fault them for doing it. It's not, I mean, I've done it myself before. Is it something that I wish they would change? I wish they would change a lot about the distribution method, but I totally get collectors' frustration when you want to just go in there to even buy a pack of hoops and you can't find hoops because people want to buy up every pack to go grade the Zions and change a $5 card into a $150 card.
Yeah, I think it's just really tough for returning collectors. If you don't have the ins, I think it can be really hard. That's why me personally, I do a lot of vintage, but I do like some of the modern stuff, but I don't open a lot of product.
Sure.
So like, for instance, like this year's Heritage, I just grabbed like the short prints of, Trout, Tatis.
That's all there is in it anyway, so you're good.
And it basically, like about 7 or 8 guys, and it basically cost me the price of about 2 blaster boxes. And, that's kind of about it for me. Now, I got to say the Chrome cards for this year's Heritage, the black Chrome cards, the base Chrome are gorgeous. I did open 1 blaster box just because I like to open one every year of Heritage, and the Chrome cards are beautiful. But, even looking for those out in the wild on eBay, I mean, the prices, it's like, wow,
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
$12 for, JD Davis or something. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just, I don't know. This is a really cool concept you guys got here.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Kevin, I appreciated your career as a running back with the Lions.
Yes.
Just kidding. But you know what I do sometimes, and I tell people that are struggling, and I'm not struggling, but it's so hot, it's hard to find, and then you don't want to pay those prices. And I know that what Drew mentioned is the fear of missing out. Is a lot of times I'll just wait it out. You'll be able to get that particular card. So if you're buying on release week, you're going to pay a premium, right? You're going to pay a premium for that auto that came out of Heritage. If you wait 3, 4, 5 months, or even like for baseball, a prime time for baseball is to buy in the off season. So like December is like perfect. You can get, stuff at like almost 50% of what it is now. Like I was buying Wander Francos for a lot less than they are now. So, but I know it's hard when you see everybody getting these, cards, and you want it, and you wind up paying a premium to get it. And it's hard for the fear of missing out of doing that. But if you have a little bit of patience, you can do pretty well.
Yeah, like what I'm doing this year, I just picked up like a 2018 update Juan Soto in a PSA 9 for about $17
nice.
A couple of weeks ago. And that's like less than you see what like raw copies going for on eBay. And yeah, it's a 9, but I can't even tell the difference between a 9 and a 10 these days. And so what I'm kind of doing is waiting for this crop of rookies to kind of start coming out in 9s. And then that's what I'll get for like 2020 base. That's what I did this last year. And I was able to get everybody for, super cheap. And I agree with your strategy of just like, holding, remaining calm, like
right. And that's
it feels like the prices aren't going down. Everything, because like I said, I do a lot of vintage too, and like I'm looking for a 1971 Topps Rich Allen right now, and I was looking at one for like $10. The other day, and I was like, wow, okay, maybe I should pull the trigger on this. And then I looked last night, and everything is like jumped up to 25 and 30 bucks.
That's how it happens. It's a daily moving thing these days. But Kevin, thanks so much for calling in, man. I hate to cut you short, but show's wrapping up, and we got a couple things we got to get to. Stay on the line though, because we are. You don't have to stay on the line, but stay watching the show as we are about to do a giveaway here in just a moment. But thanks so much for calling in, and hope to hear you soon sometime.
Yeah, totally. Later, guys.
Have a good one, man. All right, y'all. So once again, awesome callers today, guys. And this is exactly what we want from this show. I'm glad you guys are finally embracing this. So while we were, I guess I made a comment the other day, and there's a comment here by James Hummel. I hope I pronounced that right, man. If I butchered it, I apologize. But he asked the question that has Gary V, his entrance into the hobby, helped or hindered the hobby? Now, when this quest when he first came into the hobby, you know, around the national and getting the the stuff leading up to the national and everything, this question was asked a lot. But now he's been in the hobby for a while. It's kind of common knowledge now. He's gotten his effect in it. What do you guys think of it now? Has he helped or hindered the hobby?
Go ahead, Mike.
In my opinion, I think he's helped the hobby. It seems like, you know, some people weigh on the line of, oh, he's just being an industry shill because he made $25,000 or whatever from Tops. And other people, you know, think he's going to be a hobby savior. And I think the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. And I did a blog post where I kind of covered 5 of the key principles that I take away from what he shares that I think apply to both the hobby and business in the hobby, as well as life in general. And so for me personally, I think it's a net positive influence that he's had on the hobby. But I stop short of saying that he's the savior of the hobby, or all of the improvement that we've seen over the last couple of years is due to his involvement.
Well, and my opinion too is if you look at other industries, there's influencers, and I think this hobby is a little bit, kind of past that demographic of age for influencers. You know, as I'd say, the most of the demographic is 30s to 40s, because that's probably what most studies have said is that's probably the demographic that got in the 80s, and now we're back into it. But he's kind of like a social media influencer that's for this hobby. Right, in a sense. So, I guess it will be interesting to see if he still is doing it once, if the hobby does kind of come back down a little bit, back down to earth. Is he still going to be doing it? Is he still going to be doing his posts?
Yeah, I do not think he's hindered the hobby. Now, I think he's helped the hobby. I'm not going to call him like a saving grace. I in no way, shape, or form think he's the reason the hobby's doing so well. But I think what he was able to do was, like you said, he's a social media influencer, but also he has a reach far beyond just sneakers and other stuff. He's got his hands in a lot of different pots. And so he was able to expose, I think, this industry to a lot of people that would not have given it a second thought had it not been from him. And I'm all for, and I say it all the time, new people entering this hobby, whatever your reason for getting into this hobby is, whether it be to be if you want to do the flipping aspect of everything, whatever it is that you'd like to do, getting into this hobby, more people in it, more people dealing in it, I think it's great. Now, can you kind of maybe blame him a little bit for this clearing out the shelves of Walmarts and selling stuff for double? That's a different story. You could put some of that blame on, that mentality probably comes from not necessarily him, but how some people take some of the things that he teaches along the way. I don't think that's necessarily saying what he's exactly the message he would want to portray and is trying to portray, but I can see how people would take it that way. So has he maybe hindered that aspect of everything? Possibly a little bit, but I look at Gary Vee as anytime you can find somebody that has that type of following, that's a truly great guy. I got to spend a couple of hours with him at the National just talking, and he was incredible. Just a nice guy. Like, if you can get that type of person that can bring new people into it, whether they stay or not, at least getting them into it to try it, to see if it hooks them at all, I'm all for that. So in my opinion, if you'd have to ask me overall, he's definitely helped this hobby.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Well, Jesus, that hour flew by.
It did.
It really does, and it flies by because these awesome questions and these awesome viewers that we have, you guys. And I told you if you guys called in today that we would do a giveaway. So here's what we're going to do. Doug or Mike, one of you guys right now, I would like you to write a number down between 1 and 1 and 20. We'll do 1 and 20. And the first person that comes up when I say go comments the number that Doug had listed, the first one that shows up in our main comment. So make sure you click over into the main feed, like watch it on YouTube or anything, not on anything shared. Make sure your comments are coming up in the main feed. The first person that guesses the correct number, and I'll be checking Facebook as well, we will be giving away this Panini baseball hat that came from the National. It's a flat build for you guys that love that stuff. Cool little Panini hat here. Who do you collect? Got the sweet little Panini underneath. I'll give that away. Send it out to you, to the very first person that guesses the number 1 to 20 that Doug has written down on a piece of paper.
I'm locked in. It's locked in already. So
locked in? All right. Well, go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Come on. Who's got it?
Knock some numbers out. I'm going to be watching. So just knock
1
some
through
numbers.
20. Who's got it?
1 through 20.
1 through 20. 1 through 20.
Let's see.
1 through 20.
It'll take a second, I'm sure, through the delays for everyone to actually be able to start typing this, but okay. Doug, type in the private chat what it is so I know the numbers, so I know when someone gets it.
They're coming in.
Yep, they're coming in.
And I'll show it on the screen. I'll show it on the screen as well. Once somebody gets it.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody's got it yet. Let's keep it going. Panini hat. You'll be the talk of the town with your nice Panini hat.
Wait a minute. Okay, we got a winner. We got a winner. I believe, let me double check. Holy cow, you guys jumped in here. I'm double checking. I've got Theoden Corey as the first person.
Do you have Scooters above that, or maybe not on your screen?
Yep, I see Scooter.
Okay, yep, I see Scooter. So Scooter is the top one. So Scooter, congratulations. You won the Panini hat, courtesy of Hobby Hotline. Thank you guys so much for A, tuning into this episode, and B, just watching the show in general, calling in everything. We love doing the show. It's in its infancy. It's going to get a lot bigger, a lot better. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up for you guys. But Mike, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show as always. And Doug, man, it's great to finally have you on the show, bud.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, if you guys listen to next week, we'll give away a Optic basketball mega box. So jump next week and we'll figure out how we're going to give that away.
Wow. Now see, there you go. Now that's how you do it. Now see, I can't give away that stuff yet. Hopefully one day I can, but that's why I love Doug, and that's why I will be doing something crazy on the main stage this year. Oh, guys, by the way, this year, I'm going to announce it right now before we log off. Let me get that potograph is going to be on the main stage again this year. We're going to be doing this year wow, that was loud. We were going to be doing let me get that potograph, National Olympics. We're going to be doing stuff from who can crack a slab and get the card out
that's cool.
The best. Lots of fun stuff with some cool giveaways. And Doug was involved last year. I'm sure he'll be involved this year. So it'll be a lot of fun. But y'all, as always, it's been a pleasure. Please tune in next week. And if you have any questions, hit us up. Till then, peace y'all.
Perfect.